Okay, so in this video I'm gonna show you how to automate web pages using Excel and good old VBA. Now by automating web pages I mean like clicking buttons, filling out forms, downloading files and all those kind of fun things. Now to show you all the different techniques and principles, we will actually build a WhatsApp bot together. With that bot you can send WhatsApp messages directly from Excel. Now this is just one example of how everything works, and of course I cannot go to all the different details and show you all the different techniques, but it should give you a really good starting point to automate your own projects and also web pages. And of course you can always ask ChatGPT or any other AI tools if you get stuck. Alright, and without further ado, let us dive in. Before we can start coding, we need to download and install a couple of things. You will find all the download links in the description below. First, we are going to download Selenium Basic for VBA. This will let us automate the browser. And we will be working with Chrome specifically, so you will also need a Chrome driver. Here you want to make sure to pick the latest stable version. Now for Windows, you can download either the 32-bit or the 64-bit version. In my case, I picked the 64-bit one. Just copy the link, paste it into your new browser tab, hit enter and the download should start. Now keep in mind the Chrome driver always needs to match your current Chrome browser version. So the issue is Chrome updates automatically, and when that happens you will also need to download a matching Chrome driver again. And to avoid that hassle, we are gonna download a dedicated Chrome testing browser. This one doesn't update automatically. So go ahead and copy this download link here, and again open a new tab, paste it in, hit enter and the download should start. Once that is done, head over to your downloads folder. Next, let's install VBA Selenium. Just double click on the installer and leave the default settings as they are. But before you click on the install button, make sure to copy the installation folder path to your clipboard because we will need it in a minute. Alright, after you copied the path, click on install. When it's finished, you can uncheck the Selenium IDE add-on for Firefox since we don't need that. Alright, and with that, click on finish. Okay, and now let's go to the Selenium Basic installation folder. To do that, press Ctrl and E to open a new window. And in the address bar, paste in the path we just copied and press enter. And by doing that, you should now be inside the Selenium Basic folder. This is where we will need to place the Chrome browser and also the Chrome driver we just downloaded. So for that, first we need to extract both archives. Just right click on each one, choose extract all and leave the default path. That way they will extract right into the current folder. So do this for both the Chrome driver and also for the Chrome browser. Once extracted, copy the Chrome browser folder and paste it into the Selenium Basic folder. Then open the Chrome driver folder and inside you will find a file called 𝗏𝗏𝗦𝗏𝗡. Select it and move it into the Selenium Basic folder. Windows will now ask if you want to replace the existing file. So go ahead and click on replace here. Alright, and with that we are now ready to automate Chrome using Excel. Later when we automate the browser, we will also need the path to the Chrome executable file. So just open the Chrome folder and you will find the executable file right here. Now you don't need to copy it to your clipboard and I show you why in just a second. Alright, and with that said, let me go ahead and create a new Excel workbook. I'm gonna call it Web Automation. Now in the new spreadsheet, open the Developer tab. If you don't see it, just right click anywhere on the ribbon, choose Customize the ribbon and then tick the box next to Developer and then click on OK. Now you should also see the Developer tab. From there, open the Visual Basic Editor. Next, let's insert a new module and create a new subroutine. Now before we start coding though, we need to set a reference to the VBA Selenium type library we just installed. To do that, go to Tools, then References and look for Selenium type library. Once you find it, check the box next to it and then click on OK. And with that, you will now have access to all the new objects and methods needed to automate your browser. Also a quick heads up here. If you ever get a VBA automation error while running the code we are about to write, it probably means you also need to install the .NET framework. And you can find more details on that in the following blog article. The link is also in the description below. Alright, and with that said, let's get our hands dirty and write some code. First, I'm gonna initialize a new Selenium web driver and call it bot. Now, when we automate web pages, it is also super helpful to simulate key presses like tab, enter or the arrow keys. And with VBA Selenium, we can also get access to all those keys. Now here I actually forgot to initialize the object as well, because I left out the new keyword. But that's actually not a big problem, because we can also set it later on using the set keyword. Okay, and next I will create a variable to hold the path to the Chrome testing browser we just downloaded. And here's also a quick tip for you. The default Selenium installation folder is always the same, except for the username. So we can actually grab the username dynamically, just like I did here. And then we can use that path to tell Selenium to launch our testing Chrome browser using the setBinary method. Now if you skip this step, Selenium will just open the regular default browser. This also works, but as I mentioned earlier, you will then always need to make sure that your Chrome browser and your Chrome driver version always match. And to avoid that, we are using the testing browser. Alright, and next up, it is actually also a good idea to turn on option explicit at the top of the module, because that helps us to catch potential errors before the code even runs. Alright, and with that, let me compile the code. Okay, looks good because we didn't get any errors. And with that, let's give it a shot and run the subroutine. Okay, now it ran up to this breakpoint here, so this means VBA Selenium is working. Okay, and with that, I'm gonna set the breakpoint at the end of the subroutine and start the Chrome browser. Alright, and now we have a new Chrome browser open. Okay, and to make it a little bit easier for us, I will place my browser on the right side and the Visual Basic editor on the left side. And then we can write our code line by line and stepping through it as I go. Okay, now to open a website, just write bot.get followed by the URL. Then I will place the execution cursor on that line and step into it. And now you will see that it opens a WhatsApp page. Next we need to log in, and for that we actually need to scan the QR code. Now this part needs a bit of human interaction, because we can of course not simply scan the QR code using VBA. So to handle that, I'm just gonna pause the execution of our code using a simple message box. Later I will also show you how to save and reuse cookies. So in that way you only need to scan the QR code once, and after that, the next time you run the bot, you won't have to scan it again. And a general remark here, also for your own automation projects, logging forms can be really tricky, especially when they include CAPTCHAs. In cases like that, I actually recommend doing something similar to what I've done here. That means let the bot do what it can and just pause the script for manual steps. So just pop up a message box, then log in manually, and once you're done, click on OK on the message box to continue running the rest of the code. It is then not fully automated, but it will save you a ton of time and a lot of headaches during development. Alright, so with that said, let me go ahead and scan the QR code to log in. Alright, and now comes the fun part. You can actually now interact with all the elements here on the web page. You just need to tell Selenium where those elements are. Now for our WhatsApp bot, the first step is to search for a number in the search box. That means the bot needs to click into this field right here. So we need to find the location of that search box. And to do that, just right click anywhere on the page and choose Inspect. This will open up the Chrome DevTools. Here you will see the full HTML source code of the page. And to find the element you want to work with, just click this icon here on top. Once that is selected, you can hover over the elements on the page and they will get highlighted in the code. So again, let's say I want to click into the search field. I just hover over it and it gets highlighted in the source code. Next, right click on that highlighted code, go to copy and then choose copy XPath. Okay, now that we've got the location, let's switch back to the VBA code. Here you can now use VBA's IntelliSense by typing bot.findElementBy and you will see a list of all the different options. In our case, we want to find the element by XPath. Once you've selected, just copy the XPath we just copied. Now, since this is a VBA string, we need to wrap it in quotation marks. And if the XPath itself has any quotation marks, we need to replace them with single quotes. Otherwise, we will get a syntax error in VBA. Alright, now that we've got the element, we can explore the different methods we can use. In my case, I just want to click into that field. Okay, and with that done, let me test it by running that line. And yep, as we can see, it worked. So the cursor is now set into the search bar. Okay, and now that we are inside the search bar, we can insert some text. And for that, we will use the sendKeys method and paste in a string. In this case, I'm entering the phone number of the contact I want to send a message to. So let's test it out by stepping into the code. Alright, and there we go. The number is now typed into the search box. Next, to open the chat, we need to press the Enter key. And for that, we will use the Selenium keys. Now earlier, I declared already the object for the Selenium keys, but I actually forgot to initialize it. So let me go ahead and initialize it now by using the set keyword. Alright, and once the key object is initialized, I can use the sendKeys method again. but this time I will make use of the keys object. And as you can see here, there are a lot of different keys you can simulate, like arrow keys, delete, or in my case, the enter key. So when I run those two lines and maximize the window, we can now see that the chat is active. Now once the chat opens, the cursor is now already placed in the message field. That means we can insert our message directly without having to specify the location of the message box here. So I will make it very easy here, and I will just copy the same command from before to send the messages. And here's also another tip. When you're automating a web browser, there's always a bit of a loading time. So it is always a good idea to add some short pauses between the commands. And you can do that using the wait method, where you can specify the number of milliseconds to wait. So for this simple automation, I will add a wait of 200 milliseconds. Okay, and with that all in place, let me test it out by stepping through the code. And yep, as you can see, it worked. We just sent a new message to that chat. Alright, and with that, you've basically learned the core concepts for automating any website. Of course, there is way more to explore, but with what you have learned so far, you can now already do a lot. And you could even now go ahead and also ask ChatGPT to do specific tasks like downloading files or switching between tabs and so on and so forth. Just keep in mind, once your automation is done, it is always a good idea to quit the Chrome browser to free up system resources. Alright, and now as a final test, let's also run the full automation from start to finish. I will just make a few small changes here, like initializing the keys object directly, adding another short delay, and cleaning up the code indentation. And with that done, let's give it another run. So again, I will be asked to scan the QR code. Once I do that and click on OK, the bot will send the messages. So when I check the chat again, I can see our second message here. Alright, perfect. Now that this is working, let me also give you some extra practical tips for your own automation projects. And for that, I have actually prepared another Excel file for you. It is very similar to what we just did, but this time, instead of hard coding the phone numbers and messages directly in the code, I have added them into the Excel sheet directly. And now let me also show you the simple code I have put together. At the top, I have set up a little settings area. First, I have declared a few enums. That just means I have set fixed references to columns, like the phone number being in column B and the messages in column C, and so on and so forth. This makes things a little bit easier later on, especially if you add or remove columns. Next, I have defined the search input XPath as a constant. Because let me tell you, XPath tend to change over time. So it is always a good idea to keep them in one central place. That way, if something breaks, it is quick and easy to update them. And lastly, I've also set a variable for the starting row of the data. And below that, we have the actual subroutine. So, like before, I have declared my bot as a new WebDriver and also declared the Selenium keys. But this time I've also used some extra arguments, like setting a custom user data directory. And this is super helpful, and I recommend doing it for all your automation projects. Because with this setup, all the cookies and user data get saved into a specific Chrome folder. That means our login information for WhatsApp will be also saved too. So we don't need to scan the QR code every time we run our bot. And in my case, I'm saving that folder inside the same directory as the Excel workbook. Now there are actually a lot of more arguments you can use, and you will find them on the website I have linked here in the comment. Alright, and with that said, let's continue, and let me add a breakpoint right after we start our Chrome browser. Now when I run the code, you will see that a new folder called Chrome user data has been created. So as I said, this now holds all our cookies and user data. And with that, let me just continue with the code. Now, for the first time, you still need to scan the QR code, but this time your login credentials will be saved. Alright, next up, I'm just putting the phone number and the message text from the worksheet. Then, just like before, I will enter the number into the search box. Now, to make sure we always start clean, I'm also clearing out any old text in the search box. And we can do that by simulating Ctrl+A to select everything and then pressing the delete key. Once that is done, we can enter the phone number and hit enter. After that, I will wait for a moment before sending the message text and updating the status column in the worksheet. Alright, and now let me just run the full code, and you will see it goes through all the rows and send out the messages. And as promised, here's the cool part now. When I run the bot again, we don't need to scan the QR code anymore. So when I press the run button, we still get the message box, but we are actually already logged in. So I can just click on OK here to continue, and the bot will send out the messages again. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, building this WhatsApp bot is just one example. You can apply now the same principles and automate any other website. But if you're actually interested in creating your own WhatsApp bot, let me tell you that I have actually done all the work for you. So here's the WhatsApp bot I have built for you. So this version includes random delays between messages, and the XPath are always kept up to date by pulling them directly from my server. And with this version, you can also send media files and documents. If you're interested in this version, you can also find the download link in the description box below. Alright guys, and that is all I have for you today. I hope you liked the project, I wish you happy automating, and I will see you in the next video.